I would like to invite Rabbi Hank Skirball, Sally Kleinkatz, Lori Stark, and David Epstein to the Bima for a few words and some song. All at once, sure.
Rabbi Stephen Schafer, Zichrono Livracha, was born in 1927 and raised in Philadelphia. During World War II, he was a sergeant in the United States Navy Seabees, the construction battalion. He received his BA from the University of Delaware and spent the 1949-50 academic year here in Israel. Later, he earned his doctorate from Lehigh University. He was ordained at the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati, where he was the founding director of the Tawanda pre-rabbinic program. He served congregations in Toledo, Ohio, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and following his service as the founding director of the URJ, then UAHC, Youth Division, he was the rabbi of the St. Thomas Synagogue in the Virgin Islands. I first met Steve over 63 years ago when we both entered the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. We were both active members of the Cincinnati Committee of Human Relations, which brought about racial integration at the Busy Bee, a local restaurant, the two Cincinnati Music Academies, and the Coney Island Amusement Park on the shore of the Ohio River. I can still see Steve up in the trees in Versailles, Indiana State Park, where I assisted him when he was installing a temporary public address system for the first Ohio Valley Federation of Temple Youth Conclave in 1951. During the ensuing years, we met fairly often in New York, Maryland, and of course, all over Israel. I found Steve to be courageous, and I never saw him buckle to pressure to cut corners or fail to stand up for what he felt was good and ethical. Steve spoke quietly. I never heard him raise his voice, but he could make his feelings known quietly and effectively. He had a wonderful wry sense of humor, and I still tell some of his jokes, prefacing them with, I heard this one from my buddy Steve Schafer. Life certainly had its tough moments for him, as well as complications, but he was able to carry on efficiently and effectively. Like our common mentor, Rabbi Sam Cook, Steve avoided the limelight. He preferred to work behind the scenes. I still remember how much Steve did personally to ensure the founding of Kibbutz Yahel, but he, Alan Levine, I, and a handful of dedicated kibbutz leaders remained mostly out of sight during the dedication of the kibbutz, leaving the photo ops to others. Steve was compassionate and loyal. He was my successor as director of NIFTY and its overseas programs. Only he had other parallel departments, camps, and college students added to what became known as the Youth Division. We had a memorable meeting in which he told me that he was totally committed to youth in the abstract, but he left it to others to work in the trenches. He said that with our work in Israel, he saw his mission to see that good creative programs would not falter due to lack of funds. He kept his promises and never let us down. He saw to it that the youth division had shlichim. He worked on all the nuts and bolts of our kibbutzim and the mitzpeh. He ran interference for us with the UAHC staff. He was the great enabler. Without his vision and effective work, we would not have had the success that we did. He spent most of the summers in Israel. He and Nina would always live with the Levines, first at Ben Shemen and then in Rehovot. He was careful with public funds and did not spend them on stays in fancy hotels and the like. Susie and Alan loved him. Often I would be driving with Alan, who was in deep thought. Then he would simply say, "Steve is great." And I would say, "Yep." Steve had many friends who loved and respected him, from IDF General Yaakov Elazari to A.B. Nathan and his peaceniks, as well as kibbutznikim of all shades. In short, he was a mensch and a dugma ishit. Steve made real what for many of us would remain fantasies. He was, among other things, a pilot, a ferry captain in St. Thomas, a member of A.B. Nathan's crew on the peace ship, a farmer in Maryland, a university teacher, an investor, and a craftsman, and much more. During the past decade, we were pleased that Steve was comfortable, and we fantasized that a cure and a positive treatment would be found. Now he's at peace, but he lives on through the tens of thousands whose lives he touched in meaningful ways, as well as those like yourselves who will work and continue on the foundations he laid. May his memory be a blessing.
Amen.